Hey folks, welcome to Drinkin' a Wink. Here we are, December 27th, and I'm going to come at you with my whiskey experience of the year, my value whiskey of the year, and just some other whiskeys of the year. You might first notice here that I'm doing this not live. It's not a Facebook Live. I'm in the process of doing more of my content on YouTube. And I hadn't really tested YouTube Live yet so much, so I'm actually just going to pre-record this, do some very minor editing, but mostly still come at you with my live and somewhat bumbling fashion, and come at you with all my picks here. The reason why I'm coming a little early is I have a busy weekend coming up with some gigs on Friday, Saturday, and New Year's Eve. And secondly, some of these other entities have already posted their list. Ralphie has posted his list, or his top whiskey. I'll get to that later. Whiskey Advocate has put out their top 20. Luckily for me, maybe, in terms of my pocketbook, I didn't have, I don't think, all but maybe one. I don't know if I've got any of the top 20. In years past, I've usually had 2 or 3 of them from Whiskey Advocate, so that's kind of interesting. I didn't even know, really, their top whiskey of the year was even out. So, there you go. So that's what I'm doing here. Like I said, I'm going to post this here on YouTube. Then I will share it to Facebook, and then maybe I will actually take this video and post it onto Facebook proper. So you might get at this 2 ways. This year has been kind of interesting. One of the reasons that maybe I didn't get anything in the top 20 is I kind of shifted this year just for a number of different reasons. One was just kind of financially. It was kind of the shelf back there was getting big. We were getting nice, we were getting a lot of gifts every time we were having a gift giving event, meaning giving it to us. We were getting whiskey, and I was kind of wanted to focus in. Maybe in years past, it was like, oh, Elijah Craig, I need to get their rye and their bourbon and this and that, and the other thing, Buffalo Trace. I wanted to get every step in there. This year, I kind of slowed down a little bit and was really just going for picks that interested me, that I heard about, that I would most likely know that I like, and try to keep with the quality, not quantity kind of aspect. So that's why I didn't buy as many bottles. But this was no less interesting this year. I'm going to give you maybe some kind of honorable mention ideas. Let's see, what are some fantastic take 2 on that. I'm not going to edit that. Whiskeys that we saw here this year. One of them, we kind of got a big batch because Michelle now has become when her birthday rolls around, she's also getting a lot of whiskey. She made a list, so that's cool. But one of the most fantastic whiskeys that I've had this whole 23 was a distillery that I've only become familiar with recently. The distillery is called Tobermory. Now, I've told you about this a lot because they're kind of brother and sister bottlings. They put 2 brands out. One is Tobermory, okay, and the other is Ledaig, which I have mentioned before. Last year, I talked about Ledaig 10, and during this year, I also bought Ledaig, the Rioja cask, which was fabulous. Could have been a contender for top whiskey of the year, until something else came along. But this Tobermory, it was a 17-year-old limited edition, 55.9%. For all intents and purposes, this is the most, with one exception, which I'll get to, this was the most fabulous whiskey I had all year. The thing is, if I name this, it's going to be very hard to get. It was a gift to Michelle, so I don't want to kind of put it's a very generous gift. This is kind of a limited edition thing. I didn't want to name it, but this was fantastic. Tobermory from the Isle of Mull. Again, they do Tobermory, which is their kind of non-peated variety, and then the Ledaig, which I'm pronouncing properly, but it's spelled Ledaig, are fantastic things. That's their peated side, all right? So we'll set that one aside. What was the next thing that I wanted to talk about? Another fantastic experience this year was I kind of opened up and started getting a couple of world whiskeys that were new to me. Early in the year, I started hearing more and more about the Trini 3-wood from, okay, that's this bottle here, this big tall bottle, Indri, that really fantastic bottle. This is an Indian whiskey. and it's really kind of cool. It's an Indian single malt. So they're following the rules of Scotch whiskey, single malt Scotch whiskey completely. It's non-chill filtered. It's no added color. And this bottle at 92 proof, so they're not doing anything wrong, is a fantastic Indian version of single malt Scotch whiskey. It is something of their own. It's delicious. And what's interesting is as it became more popular, it's kind of hard to find until all of a sudden now I've been seeing it even in some grocery stores. So if you're interested to try something different, this thing runs around $60. It hasn't gone up in price. Indri single malt, and the product is called the Three Wood. Wonderful fruity flavors, lots of orchard flavors, really nice. Again, that was a contender. Maybe it's kind of like Oscar season or something like that. It was only because I got that so early in the year that I'm not thinking about it. What else did we check out? Another thing that was great was we got a couple of cool ryes. I have this one, which is what I'm tasting right now, from Wilderness Trail. This is their Sweet Mash Rye. Straight rye, bottled in bond, 50% ABV from Wilderness Trail. This is a fantastic rye, probably the best rye I had all year. This has a lot of that, again, floral and subtle candy notes, caramel, not caramel, butterscotch, a little tangy. Another one, which I could have put on this shelf, was one that I bought from Michelle called Town Branch from Kentucky. Also a really nice bottle. Wasn't going to be a contender, but both of these are at 100 proof. They're both Kentucky ryes instead of anything from the east of the country. Really nice. Wilderness Trail. Check them out. They're kind of popular. They have ryes and bourbons, all that kind of stuff. Really nice. Let's see, what else did I try? What else I got up here? I can't go without this. Bourbon kind of bored me this year. That's on me, not everyone else. One of the things is the bourbon, with the limited amount of things that they can do with finishing, aging, and all that kind of stuff, I just didn't find anything that was new to me that I was going to try out. So, I don't mean to say that it's bad, but now I tried tons of old bourbons and ryes and American whiskeys because, as I mentioned in a previous video, right when I kind of shut off my shopping for a while, we had a neighbor that was moving away, and he gave me a whole bunch of half bottles, quarter bottles of some really nice Buffalo Trace Antique Collection and Buffalo Trace Sweller Full Proof. What else was back here? Oh, he gave me some of this. There's still quite a bit of this. The Barrel Proof Colonel E.H. Taylor. So it's not like I didn't have a lot of whiskey. But those are all kind of old things. So I'm going to bring you something that I've talked about. I don't know if it's kind of location bias or what, but I've talked to you many times about Whiskey Acres Distillery out in DeKalb, Illinois. Nick Nagel and the crew out there, I've talked with them a couple times. I've brought them up many times. There are some people that say, oh man, what are you talking about? Illinois, they can't do bourbon. Well, I really think they do, and it's a very unique product. And it's a grain to glass distillery out there. Really fantastic place. It has a unique flavor. I always kind of think that the yeast kind of pops through, and everything they have, their rye and their bourbons, have a little bit of a yeasty note. But I have been kind of keeping up with them. We went out there again during the 23 on a trip to Starved Rock, and we tried their popcorn bourbon. I got their Bloody Butcher. I think I got that in 23. No, I did. No, that was a little bit earlier. But anyway, we tried some of their other things, and I know we got the maple syrup bourbon, which was a small bottling, artisanal bottling. But then on July 7th, okay, ready for this? So 7/7, they released their 7-year-old bourbon. This thing is a belter. Age 7 years. It's bottled at 53.5 ABV, which means it's 107 proof. They haven't been around that long, so they finally felt that their bourbon, aged at 7 years, was the time to kind of do something special, and boy did they. That is a fantastic bourbon. I'm going to say it. Some of you might not might agree with me, all you Bland's heads, and some of my other friends out there, even ones that live out there towards DeKalb, you know who you are. this was a fantastic bourbon. This is by and large, again, I said I drink a lot of antique collection stuff and all that. By and large, new bourbon that I bought this year, this is the best bourbon I had all year. Whiskey Acres, 7-year. It was a limited edition, but I will tell you, if you go out and get their some other offerings that they have, or just the bottled and bond, boy, it's good. Okay, love that place. Anything else that I wanted to talk about? Oh, another thing that came across my mind is, you know, I'm always talking about the Dewar's company and their master blender, Stephanie McLeod. I bring her up because she's going to come back in this conversation. For the last, I don't know when she started over there, but I don't know if it's 7 years, 10 years, can't remember. I got 7 on the brain, who knows. But she's been the master distiller over there, the head master distiller, master blender over there. And all that means is she's taken all those old and new Dewar's products and coming up with new ideas. One of the cool things that she did this year was upgraded. I meant to have this up. Sorry, you're looking at the back of my head. But she upgraded the stately and well-known 12-year-old, okay, which used to be called the Ancestor a long time ago. And they went from using all manner of bourbon barrels to now they're just aging this double-aged in first-fill bourbon casks. This is a huge improvement, and although originally the price didn't seem to go up, it seemed like it go up. It went up now. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's only $1 or $2. This was at Mariano's, not a liquor store, not on sale. It's about 25 or 26 bucks. I think my good friend Jim John Sellers bought a bottle on my recommendation, and I'm hoping that he's already enjoying it if he sees this video. Shout out to Jim. And I'll get back to you about those gigs in January that I haven't answered yet. But anyway, there you go. That's Dewar's 12. That was another one. Stephanie McLeod is doing all kinds of great stuff. We also did get their 21. This was our anniversary gift to ourselves, the Dewar's 21, which was fantastic. That's it. Okay, we're cruising in. One final thing. There were there was one more major experience that I had that I want to tell you about. All right. So as long as I've been doing this, and it hasn't been a super, super long time, but I've been doing this a while now, right? One thing that I have never done is I have never bought an independent bottling of single malt Scotch. While I mention this, we're going to kind of get Scotch heavy here, only because the last couple of years I've done a rye, I've done an Irish whiskey, haven't ever named a bourbon as my top, but it just seems like I kind of got focused back into single malt Scotch whiskey this year. So all my picks are going to be not single malt, but Scotch whiskey. Okay, coming back to that. All right. But what I did here was I did buy my first independent bottling of a single malt Scotch whiskey. If you don't know what that means, it's essentially like this. Independent bottling companies such as Duncan Taylor, which is you see right here, will buy casks of new make or aged spirit, and then they'll store it, and they will do something different to them. What does that mean? Well, you can't add anything to it. So your options are aging it differently, okay, or in the case of, well, aging it differently, meaning using different types of casks. And then you're also going to probably, when you get an independent bottling, bottle at a higher proof, okay? When you buy, let's say, what is this, Craigellachie, you buy that in the store, traditionally, or to say a better example, you can get a whole lot of independent bottlings of all types of whiskeys, but let's say we're going to talk about the big one, MacLean, okay? MacLean has low ABV points on their core range of products, okay? The way it is. Lefroy is the same way. When you get independent bottling, not only has it been perhaps aged differently, the usual proof it at a higher proof, which is what I like. I like high ABV whiskey, right? So, anyway, that's what they do. And then they bottle it up. And unlike like source whiskey, I don't want you to confuse this with like in the United States where companies, brands will source whiskey and put their name on it. You know, I'm looking at you, Jepson. There's nothing wrong with it, but you got to do something special with it. You just can't buy it and then bottle it. This was a Duncan Taylor 14-year-old Craigellachie that was aged in sherry cask, and it's all natural, and it's bottled at 54%. It was also a Vinnie's pick. You can see that label on the bottle here. And like I said, that's kind of a luxury for me to buy an independent bottling, but I'm sure glad I did. I've been just tasting this a little bit because it is something special. I'm a big fan of Glenallachie's core range. This is just fantastic. If I could say that you could all buy it for an affordable price right now, this would have been my whiskey of the year, but that's what I did. Also wanted to talk before we get into my picks. What was kind of fun is we did a couple of polls, and I kind of had to just kind of when they repackaged it, I kind of acquainted myself with Wild Turkey 101. But I did do two polls. And the first poll was, what is your budget value bourbon? And I said, you know, I want to still keep it somewhat quality, so I said $27 limit. That winner was the, everyone knows this one. If you can get your hands on it these days, it's amazing that this is even becoming a little harder to get. But the winner was Buffalo Trace's just standard core range product, Buffalo Trace. Okay, if you know, depends where you live, you can find that sometimes in your store, anywhere, and then sometimes you can't find it at all. But that was that. My pick, and what came in second, was, again, as I mentioned, the new packaging of Wild Turkey 101. 25 bucks, really solid bourbon. I know John Richardson said he gives him a headache, but who knows? I don't know. It's still a really good value. Our second poll was, what would you spend $65 or more on for, let's say, a luxury bottling or a premium bottling? Once again, bourbon came in first, which was no surprise to me. Single malt Scotch whiskey was second. I will say that that poll was kind of tainted for me because I've done premium in everything. I've bought a premium Irish whiskey, a premium bottling. I bought a premium bottle of Canadian whiskey, and I have also bought a premium blended Scotch whiskey. So I've bought all those, not this year, but over the years at over 65 bucks. So it was interesting to see what people would do and what people would kind of be interested in first. I need to actually drink of water. And then we're going to start pulling this in. Matter of fact, I might just stop the video and take a little more drink and maybe rinse the palate as I've been drinking this wonderful Wilderness Trail. All right, we're back. As you can see, I've moved some bottles around, and now we're going to get to the good stuff. When it comes to single malt Scotch whiskey, my tastes seem to change by year to year. Maybe a year ago, I was getting a lot of peated single malt Scotch whiskey from the island of, well, the main one, Islay, and a couple other ones like the Ledaig from the Isle of Mull. I didn't get a whole lot of peated single malt Scotch whiskey. But this year, I bought selectively. I told you, got the independent bottler, and then I bought one because people started talking about it. That is, I mean, old. It's an old company, and all of a sudden it has been revived. Partially because the master blender, who I mentioned before, is taking a big part in this. And this distillery, my whiskey experience of the year, it's kind of weird. It's going to actually be a distillery and 2 bottles, but my whiskey experience of the year has been finding in plain sight the wonderful Craigellachie distillery. Okay, let me tell you about Craigellachie a little bit. Craigellachie is a Speyside region distillery. It's been around a long time. I'm not going to give you the long and fashioned history. You could check it out. I think it was 1891. And they are unique. They're right next to many other Speyside distilleries that you can think of. I think Glenrothes is right by there. I mean, they're just, if you look on the map, Craigellachie will just be in the middle, and there's just a few miles in between a bunch of the Speyside distilleries. What is unique, there's many things that are unique. One is mainly that they do a Speyside, typical Speyside malt. There's no peat in this, okay? But what they do is, first of all, it has a more, I would say, a muscular or just a little bit meatier flavor. And I think the main reason for this is their use of what are called worm tubs, okay? Yes, worm tubs. We're not talking about earthworms. Okay, we're talking about a worm, kind of like the thing that you might see, like a worm drive, if you know what that is, or what's in your garage door opener or something. But basically a spiral that turns, okay, that generates either propulses or something of that nature. That kind of shape, that spring, is called a worm. All right, a worm tub is really interesting. When you're talking about a typical distillery, I know I've talked about this before, but you have the still, and then there's this line arm that comes up and it comes over, and that's where the condensation comes up and travels over and then gets collected. That arm in this direction is usually, or not usually, it has to be chilled, and that's what takes those vapors and kind of regenerates them into liquid. That's the whole process, okay? So it has to be, after it's in the hot still, it has to be chilled so that then we get the vapor, or the vapors become liquid, and that's where we get our new make spirit. Okay, what worm tubs do, and there are a number of, there's only a few, I should say, single malt Scotch whiskies are doing that, is comes out of the still, and then it goes outside, okay, and then comes down to these tubs, okay, and what's interesting is the tubs actually hold rainwater. They're outside. They literally are holding, I guess, air temperature rainwater, okay? And that the pipe comes outside, goes down, and here's the tub, and then that pipe worms to the bottom of those tubs, and then it goes back inside the building. So it's never hitting the outside world in terms of actual contact, or the outside, the nature, or Mother Nature, whatever you want to see, but essentially what they're doing is these tubs are just filled with water, kind of like your rain collector if you're trying to do that to conserve a little water, and you're just running your, I guess another way you can think of it is like if you were going to try to make iced coffee quickly. This is going to be weird, but you got a tube connected from your coffee machine, okay, your coffee maker, your Mr. Coffee. It's not a coffee still, that's a different thing, but your Mr. Coffee, you're going to run it outside, and then it's going to go to, the pipe is going to go, it's going to worm around, so it gets a bunch of surface area contact into the outside cold water, and then come back in your house, and you're going to enjoy some iced coffee. Well, you didn't really ice it. You're going to enjoy some lukewarm coffee. But anyway, that's the way this works over here at Craigellachie. Their core range is just fantastic. They also, what else can I tell you? They also have in their core range, they for some reason love the prime number. So their core range, kind of lowest product, they don't have a no age statement product, is actually in the core range they only have 4 right now products. As I look at the website. That is the 13-year-old single malt. They have a 13-year-old Bas Armanac finished malt, which I'm going to talk about. And that's the one I'm going to make actually my whiskey experience of the year. The 17-year-old malt, and they have a 23. Now, again, you can find independent bottlings, all that kind of stuff. But let me tell you just a little bit more of this. Okay? I'm actually not going to drink this because I've had a ton of this. I actually have a couple of bottles of that. I'm going to have a little bit of the Bas Armanac. But a couple more things about this distillery. One, both these are 13 years old. They are both unchill filtered and natural color. So these things are both natural color. We all like that. 13, it's a little bit, obviously 1 year higher than a lot of the 12 years that we normally talk about, like Deanston 12 and Old Pulteney 12. I got so many 12-year-olds here. I'm not going to go into it. But they bottled it at 13. That's it. And the price tag on this is phenomenal. Now, Craigellachie, this looks like a very small little distillery. So yeah, maybe that they'll keep the price down, or maybe it'll be jacked up because it's small. Well, here it is. This is owned by the Dewar's Company. Yes, the Dewar's Company that I mentioned before. The Dewar's Company now is then also owned by the even bigger Bacardi. Now, we all have heard Bacardi, right? Okay, so Bacardi is now, not now, they've been doing it for a while, picking up a bunch of these different brands. Right now, Bacardi owns Dewar's along with Aberfeldy, Altmore, Craigellachie, Royal Bracla, and the Dewar. I've never had, well, the Aberfeldy you can see in stores, but I don't know, it's harder to find those other ones here, at least in the United States. Anyway, so Dewar's, or Bacardi owns Dewar's, and then these smaller distilleries. Well, Stephanie McLeod, again, I've mentioned her before, is now the master blender not only for Dewar's, but those brands of single malt Scotch whiskey. 13 has been around for quite a long time, the standard 13. Wonderful meaty notes, lots of, I don't know what would be the best way to describe it, a little bit of pineapple, some oak. Oh boy, what would be a good, I'm trying to think of what they got here. Yeah, pineapples, I said, baked apple, clove, but what's neat about it is that muscularity in there keeps it from getting too sweet. This is just a wonderful dram, okay? The next thing that came along is Stephanie McLeod decided to add in this new thing, which they take the 13 and now they are finish aging it in Bas Armanac. Now Bas Armanac is, you know, kind of a dessert wine, I guess, or I don't know if it's a fortified wine. I forgot, I had it in my notes and now I'm kind of forgetting it. French Bas Armanac barrels. And that really, I'm going to have it right now. Oh boy, it kind of takes this very nice kind of honey, pineapple, and you think of all those kind of notes that I just mentioned, a little bit of oaky notes, and it adds a little bit of more of the caramel and a little bit more cinnamon spices. It kind of makes this, that's what's kind of funny, it kind of makes this one, which I feel is very kind of earthy and just nice big, it's like, it takes like from butterscotch, then all of a sudden this is like Christmas, all right? Very much some fruitcake notes on this Bas Armanac. The interesting thing about this Bas Armanac is that this Bas Armanac is also produced in worm tubs, so that's a nice combination. Anyway, Stephanie McLeod, this was her idea, and after they take 13, they finish age it in a little bit of this Bas Armanac cask. Not, you know, not adding it, but you know what I mean. All right. Oh, this is so good. If you're a single malt Scotch whiskey fan, and you sometimes feel that sherry finished Scotch whiskey can sometimes taste a little bit like old wood, driftwood, or that kind of flavor, give this a shot. Okay, I'm going to name this whiskey of the year, the Bas Armanac. Okay, that's my whiskey of the year for me personally. But I'm naming both of these. The whiskey, kind of whiskey experience, that distillery is what's going to happen. I'm going to clean that one up again. This is my whiskey of the year. I drink it more. This is so good. Now, this has some competition. I said the Indri single malt that I talked about, the Indian whiskey, that was surprisingly good. If you were going to trade bottles for me, I would go with the Tobermory 17. And I don't know that I would trade you for my independent bottling, but here's the catch, all right? Not the catch. Here's the great stuff about this. This 13-year-old is listed at $60, okay? This 13-year-old Bas Armanac is finished, you know, extra age fishing, is listed at $70. Here's the other thing. This is becoming more popular since it's owned by Bacardi. So whereas the first time I bought this bottling, I had to kind of search around to find it. Now this is just about, this one, the regular 13, is in every liquor store that I've gone into. The Bas Armanac is all over the place. And if you're here in Illinois, Chicagoland area, or maybe, I don't know if they follow the same pricing in the few stores that are out in Springfield and those other areas, but if you're here in Illinois, right now, Craigellachie has been on sale, the standard 13 has been on sale for $54. It's that a 13-year-old 46 proof, 46 ABV, non-chill filtered, no colorant added, just wonderful natural product. That's outstanding. The Bas Armanac is right now on sale for $59.99 at Binny's. I really recommend that if you are going to listen to me at all, and you're like, boy, I want to try one of these things that Scores have mentioned, you're not going to get a better quality product at that price than these two bottles. It's just outstanding. And I have to say, it's really cool that Stephanie McLeod kind of went ahead and did this and put these all together. Her track record is great, and that's why she's been like the master, that winning awards as the best master's blender in like the last 3 or 4 years. Like, she wins every award. It's just outstanding. So I'm naming Craigellachie 13 and the Craigellachie 13 Bas Armanac finish my whiskeys of the year. Okay, check it out. It's so much fun. It's so good. All right, now we're gonna do one more. All right, so you can see I made an edit and I've changed my bottles up. I have one more bottle to pick for you. I did mention value whiskey of the year, and it was kind of funny. I was kind of debating on this. I was going to say, was it just going to be standard Wild Turkey 101 or something else? I don't know what I was going to do. I really didn't have anything along the lines. I was going to pick a bourbon from that list, and then all of a sudden, I started hearing about this thing called, well, I won't even give it away yet because it's got a cool story. I've been hearing about this blended Scotch whiskey. Now, we're not talking about a blended malt, meaning it's a mixture of single malt Scotch whiskey. It's just a blended Scotch whiskey. I'm not always a big fan of blended Scotch whiskey. I like my Dewar's products, but I would never think that like I'm going to recommend it, like, you know, as a end of the year lister. But then I started hearing about this thing more and more, that this is a real good one, and then I started doing some looking around and checking around, and I'm like, oh boy. And then I was hearing this blended whiskey was in Scotland was like selling for £35, and I'm like, well, when it gets over here, finally, it's going to be like $60 because that's the way it kind of works sometimes. And then I'm walking through my local liquor store, and all of a sudden I look and I find it. And this whiskey is called, this blended Scotch whiskey is called MacLean's Nose. Okay, so I got 2 bottles because I went out and bought another one. Now let me tell you a little bit about this. First off, Ralphie, the online YouTuber, infamous 1,000 reviews this man has done. His 1,000th, I don't know what it was, 7th review, he named this his whiskey of the year. That's amazing. What's great about him is, I've learned a lot from watching him and Roy at Aquavit, is that they don't name these expensive, weird, hard-to-find whiskeys that you're never going to get. They get something that you are going to be able to get, and that's what I'm doing with this. This is not as good as Craigellachie, but it's darn close. And when we consider that this is still $35 in stores, I didn't even buy it on sale. It's $35, just regular price. This is something to check out. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it. First of all, it's got a funny name, MacLean's Nose. Okay, who is bringing us MacLean's Nose? And I got to pour myself a glass because this stuff is so darn good. Actually, I should. So, we've been talking about Dewar's and Wild Turkey and Craigellachie, Tobermory, all these names, especially in the Scotch world. You know, Dewar's, I mean, Aberfeldy. I mean, these names, they're older than the hills of Scotland themselves. But this one is coming from a new distillery that's turning a lot of heads. And that distillery is called Ardnamurchan. Ardnamurchan. They're a brand new distillery. They're just starting to get some of their age statements out. You can check them out. And their single malt Scotch whiskey is really turning heads. I think it won the Best New Distillery in the online whiskey awards. Online Scotch whiskey awards is Scotch heavy. So, I mean, there's some new distilleries in the United States that are fantastic. But the Ardnamurchan distillery is coming out. This is owned by a company called Adelphi. Okay. And there you go. Blah, 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 bing, 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 boom, boom, boom. So now they put out this blended Scotch whiskey, okay, called MacLean's Nose. Now, why is it called MacLean's Nose? Well, from what my understanding is, okay, and I'm gonna put the picture up in the video when I'm editing this just shortly later. First of all, MacLean's Nose is a landmark, okay, and I am just reading this, but blah blah blah. There's this lock, boom boom boom, beep beep beep, over the Sound of Mull. There's this mountain outcrop that basically looks like the shape of that. Okay, now I am actually going to hold my laptop up for a second. So that's it. It's called MacLean's Nose. It's an outcrop, like I say, over the Sound of Mull, and it's right near where it's in the town of, I guess, Ardnamurchan, or at least it's really close to that location. That's why they gave the name. Now, this distillery, Adelphi and Ardnamurchan, also have one of the Scotch whiskey's biggest names as one of the kind of a consultant, a taster, stuff like that. His name is Charles MacLean. I've known him on, you can watch videos, okay? Now, I'm going to show you a picture of him right off my laptop. I hope we'll be able to focus in on this. Oh, sorry, there you go, and I'll probably put it up in the video. But his nose, Scotch whiskey tasters, the nose is the most important part of the body, and it resembles his outcrop. And I'm not making fun of anyone, they are you know, kind of pointing that out. They're playing, kind of, not a play on words, but that's it. MacLean's nose. On the nose, there's just a hint of smoke. I mean, a little hint of peat. I may be getting that from just, that could be just cask feel. But there's oakiness, there's such a great balance on this. I cannot explain how good this is as a no-age statement blended malt, or blended Scotch whiskey. I gotta get it right. Right in this price range of $35, we have Dewar's 15, which I love, but you know, that's an old kind of grumpy whiskey. And we have Johnnie Walker Black Label, which is at $40 usually. I would drink this any day over those two. It's just fantastic. Let me tell you about it. So they are unabashedly stating that although this is a blended Scotch whiskey, so what does that mean? It means there are malt whiskeys in there, or essentially barley grain whiskeys in there, single malt Scotch whiskeys in there. They are using other grains, but they tell you right here what they're using. So the batches for this MacLean's Nose are made up of 40 ex-bourbon ASB of malt whiskey distilled in the West Highlands. So that's probably where I'm getting a little bit of smoke flavor. West Highlands, that's way up there. Some of them, those distilleries like, I don't have it anymore because I kind of got used to Highland Park, and some of those other ones will add a little bit of Highland style peat, and that's what I'm getting here. This is not Isla peat. There's a hint of Highland peat, which is more like campfires and charcoal smoke. Okay, 5x bourbon of malt whiskey distilled in Campbelltown. Now Campbelltown is where the Great Springbank is located. Okay, that might be Springbank. I don't even know, but it could be something of that nature. They have kind of a leafy, autumnal flavor a lot of times. Again, these are all generalizations. 16x sherry hogsheads of malt whiskey distilled in the West Highlands. Okay, so there we go, another one. And then finally, 21x bourbon hogsheads of grain whiskey distilled in the lowlands. So that's what's telling you. This is 70% single malt Scotch whiskey, and just 30% of this, what I can taste, is very good, fine, high quality grain whiskey. This is the kind of stuff that really gets me jazzed. I could tell you to go out and buy this Tobermory 17, find it, try to get it. Now that it's limited edition and it's now kind of been some time on it, yeah, you're gonna, who knows, all right? You could buy a big screen TV, or you can buy one of those. I could tell you to go out and get this independent bottling like I'm talking about. And I could even say that, you know, if Craigellachie is not your jam, or you're not ready to drop 60 plus on something, or 54 plus, and you don't experiment, that's great. I get jazzed, literally, by being able to tell you that a product that's bottled at, what's the ABV on this? I'm sorry, 46%. A blended Scotch whiskey is at 46%, all natural coloring. Unlike Dewar's and definitely Johnnie Walker, this is all natural color from aging. Okay? No chill filtering, so it's going to taste a little meaty. It has this wonderful crisp flavor. This is what they call rugged West Coast style blended Scotch whiskey. It's fabulous. There you go. I'm going to kind of end this one here. I'm not going to use the phrase done and dusted because it's Ralphie's line. But I'm going to say right here, off the top of my head, to wrap it up, you want to check out some rye, I would say Wilderness Trail is your game. If you're going to feel something different and you're like, you know what, I'm going to not buy a Kentucky bourbon for once, check out that Whiskey Acres. But for my money, right now, I'm going to say, once again, Craigellachie 13 and Craigellachie 13 Bas Armanac are my whiskey experiences of the year, and value whiskey that you cannot go wrong with. Grab yourself some MacLean's nose, all right? The nose always knows. I don't know if that made any sense. Anyway, I'm really having fun here with this. This is like first couple of days that I've had off. It was a really long year for me in terms of both teaching and performing. Knock on wood. I like to be busy, but it did kind of catch me at the very end. It was very busy. It was also great for all you Eastern folk, Eastern Illinois University folk that might be tuning in. I didn't get to see go down to Prof. Johnny Lane's Percussive Arts Society induction. I didn't do that, but we did get to see him at the Midwest Band and Orchestra Clinic. Had a great time seeing some friends, old and new. Tom McGowan, that I hadn't seen in 25, probably 30 years. Some of you other folks out there. Boy, it was really great to see you all. What else we did? Michelle was performing a lot. She couldn't be with us today because she's out mentoring some other vocalists, which is really cool. But she kind of goes out and does that. But yeah, most of all, I want to thank you for kind of tuning in with me and enduring some of these weird things like the videos kind of stopping up all for no apparent reason and all that kind of good stuff. I'm really enjoying this time. And we might come at you at New Year with just kind of a toast or whatever. But most of all, really looking forward to a fun and cool 2024. I know everyone here that I know around me is looking forward to some new. 2023 was kind of a year, at least for me and at least for Michelle. But we're looking forward to changing it up. Most importantly, go out, check out some new things. Tell me what you like. That's the other thing. I could always use some more engagement on the Drinking and Wink Facebook page. I will be making some more transitions to YouTube, but I'll always have those things posted onto the Facebook page as well. There you go. Tell me what you think. Grab yourself some MacLean's Nose. Grab yourself some Craigellachie 13. And if you don't like Scotch whiskey at all, you know what? Well, I don't know. Go get yourself some Blands or something. Good luck. I know that I'm going to be pulling it back into some Irish whiskey stuff. We had some fabulous Irish whiskeys this year, too. It's really tough. It's just that now that whiskey is becoming popular, mostly because of this web page, or this Facebook page. Now that it's becoming more and more popular, it's just so fun to see so many new things. All right, Happy New Year, and we'll see you soon.